the heart of Mega City, where the neon glow barely masked the shadows, Max Steele sat in his dimly lit office. A screen flickered with static, reflecting the chaos that tinged his thoughts. Former cop turned private investigator, he had once been part of a system that upheld some form of order. Now he felt like a ghost, haunted by the weight of mistakes that never truly left him. He poured himself a drink. The sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway. A door creaked open to reveal a young woman, her eyes rimmed with worry and desperation. He introduced herself as Lila Chen's friend, urgently explaining how Lila had gone missing during her investigation into the city's corrupt official. Axe regarded her with a mix of sympathy and skepticism. His trust had been eroded by years of betrayal, and the vibrant spirit of Lila echoed a past he longed to forget. Yet, something in her plea stirred a flicker of determination within him. He remembered Lila as a fierce journalist, one whose tenacity could either expose the city's rot or lead her straight into danger. Determined to take the case, Max began to gather information about Lila's last known whereabouts. He sifted through contacts, piecing together fragments of her life. Each conversation revealed a woman driven by a thirst for truth, unearthing layers of deceit woven into the fabric of Mega City. Apparent that she had been getting closer to something that someone wanted to keep hidden. With every lead he followed, memories of his own past as a cop resurfaced. Axe felt the weight of the badge he once wore, reminder of the man he had aspired to be and the man he had failed to protect. He recalled an incident involving Captain Duncan Holt, high-ranking police official whose involvement in corruption had been painfully obvious yet impossible to prove. A case that had cost him dearly. He paced the dim light of his office. Max grappled with the fear that Lila might have crossed paths with Holt and his corrupt network. He could feel the city's pulse beneath him, a throbbing reminder of the danger lurking in every alley, every code, every flickering sign. His thoughts turned to the people Lila had spoken with, and Max made a mental note to reach out. There were whispers in the underground, connections to crime syndicates, and perhaps even an old rival who might know her fate. There was no turning back now. The neon-lit streets of Mega City beckoned him, each glow a siren call laced with the promise of danger and discovery. Final swig of his drink, Max resolved to dive deep into the web of deception that had ensnared Lila. A hunt for her would not only require cunning, but also a reckoning with his past. He stepped out into the flickering lights of the city. He felt the darkness tighten around him. But within that darkness was also a fleeting glimmer of hope that perhaps in Lila's truth, he might find his own redemption. Max Steele stepped into the dimly lit underground market, the air thick with the scent of burnt circuits and desperation. Neon lights flickered above, casting twisted reflections that danced like ghosts against the grimy walls. This was not just a market, it was the lifeblood of Mega City's underworld, a place where secrets were traded like currency. With each step, Max's mind echoed with the urgency of Lila's disappearance. Journalist, spirited and headstrong, now lost among the shadows of corruption. He needed leads, and the underground was teeming with information, hidden beneath layers of deception. He made his way through the throngs of shady figures exchanging dubious tech and data. A familiar voice called out to him. An underground tech dealer with a reputation for having his ear to the ground. Crossed paths before, each encounter charged with suppressed rivalry and unspoken respect. Ike leaned against a wall, a sly grin illuminating his angular features. He was surrounded by an array of blinking gadgets, their surfaces gleaming under the neon glow. There was always an air of mystery about Bite, as if he danced on the thin line between friend and foe. Axe approached him, his expression hard and guarded. Eyes narrowed, assessing Max with a hint of amusement. He spoke of Lila's last known movements, painting a vivid picture of a woman who, moments before vanishing, had tread the same treacherous path he was now navigating. Lila had been digging deep, unearthing dirt on the city's most corrupt officials, including Captain Duncan Holt himself. Each step into the underworld was a risk, one Max wished he could refuse, but knew he could not. Information in hand, the tension in Max's chest tightened. The stakes were high, but he knew that every lead could bring him closer to Lila if she was still alive. Noise pulled him from his thoughts. The sound of laughter and clinking glasses drifted from a nearby alcove, where a gathering of crime syndicate members was in full swing. Axe felt a pulse of unease coursing through him, a familiar sensation from his days as a cop. He remembered the meetings that had spiraled into chaos, the betrayal that came from those he trusted most. Yet, he could not back down now. The gathering represented information, the very thread that could lead him to Lila. Risking exposure, he slipped further into the shadows, each movement deliberate and silent. He settled against a nearby wall. Voices climbed to a crescendo, drawing him in like a moth to a flame. They spoke of alliances, profit margin, and hidden truths about the very streets he roamed. Midst the chatter, mentions of Lila surfaced, igniting a fire within Max. Then a missing person. She was a key to unraveling the entire corrupt system that had ensnared this city. A sharp voice cut through the veil of laughter, a name that twisted Max's gut, Rico Vasquez. The crime syndicate leader had long been a thorn in Max's side, charismatic and cunning, with a knack for manipulation. Past interactions had left wounds that were yet to heal. Rico had the knowledge to connect the dots between Lila and the corrupt spine of Mega City. With a deep breath, Max stepped out from the shadows, determination surging through him. A crowd turned as he made his way to where Rico stood, the air thickening with tension. Rico's gaze met Max's, a smirk creeping across his lips, as if he had been expecting him. Rico thrived in chaos, and Max was about to be pulled into the tempest once more. A reluctant alliance was forming. They both had something to gain, and with Lila's fate hanging by a thread, Max reluctantly accepted that he might need Rico's help to navigate through this web of deceit. They advanced deeper into the gathering. The neon lights pulsed with secrets waiting to be uncovered. Leftovers of the past mingled with the urgency of the present, underscoring the delicate dance between trust and betrayal in the darkness of Mega City. Max Steele ventured deeper into the inviting chaos of Mega City. A strange feeling settled in his gut. The neon signs reflected off the rain-slicked streets, illuminating faces that glided past him, each one concealing stories intertwined with the city's dark underbelly. He had spent years fighting to uncover the truth, but in a city so steeped in corruption, the truth felt like a fleeting mirage. Navigating through the throngs of people, Max found himself contemplating his next step. He recalled the conversation with Detective Sarah Graves, who had reluctantly reached out, sharing her guilt and revealing key evidence that suggested Captain Holt's hand in Lila's disappearance. Holt was not just a suspect, he was a looming shadow, a reminder that the very institutions meant to protect the innocent had rotted from within. Determined to follow the thread of information, Max made his way toward the tech markets, an underworld pulsating with illegal trades and rogue innovation. The air was thick with a blend of electric hum and whispered deals, and as he delved deeper, he knew he was drawing attention. A murmur of his name, once synonymous with law and order, now rung out as a taunt within these walls, a remnant of his past. He approached a tech vendor known as Byte, a mysterious dealer rumored to have connections all around the city. Shrouded in digital enigma, often speaking in riddles, but Max recalled their previous meetings. He had always managed to extract just enough information. Max arrived at Byte's makeshift stall, dimly illuminated by flickering screens. He felt the weight of eyes on him, a reminder of the dangers lurking in the shadows. Byte, with his half-smile and glinting eyes, noticed Max's arrival and gestured him closer. The dealer's movements were smooth, practiced, confident. Max wasted no time, diving into questions about Lila and the recent networks tied to Holt. Byte's expression shifted, a mix of amusement and intrigue gracing his features as he toyed with a holographic interface that swirled with data. Series of flashing images. Byte revealed surveillance footage of Lila, capturing snippets of her frantic investigation and the faces that surrounded her. Max's heart sank as he recognized the unmistakable figure of Rico Vasquez, the crime syndicate leader who thrived amidst chaos. struck him that Rico held the key to the dark tangles of this case. Their shared history complicated matters. The last time they had met, trust had been shattered, leaving behind only shards of betrayal and anger. Axe's mind raced as Byte continued to share information, drawing connections from Lila's investigation to Holt's illicit dealing. Each revelation felt like a tightening noose, the implications sharp and dangerous. Axe understood he had to face Rico once more, to ride the thin line between collaboration and conflict. He prepared to venture into Rico's territory. The reality of impending danger settled in. He was under scrutiny now. Tension had shifted toward him following his inquiries into Holt. Beknownst to Max, Hit had just been placed on his head an insurance policy against anyone daring to ruffle the feathers of the corrupt elite. Even as dread clung to him like fog, there was a flicker of defiance in Max's chest. He was no longer merely a pawn in this game. He would emerge as a player, willing to defy the odds. The stakes had never been higher, and with the truth tantalizingly within reach, he had a newfound sense of purpose. Leaving the tech market, Max blended into the crowd, a man propelled by the pursuit of justice. He maneuvered through the maze of Mega City. The thrumming pulse of life surged around him, a constant reminder that beneath the chaos lay the hope Lila once fought for. The shadows whispered their secrets, but he was determined to bring them to light, confronting his own darkness in the process. This world of neon dreams and haunting nightmares, he felt the unmistakable thread of destiny pulling him forward. He was on the precipice of discovery, and there would be no turning back. Each step resonated with the promise of unmasking the truth, leading him closer to Lila and, perhaps, redemption for himself. Max Steele stood in the shadows of the safe house, heart racing as he caught sight of Lila Chen. Whirlwind of determination and fear, pinned against the walls of her own truth. Her eyes darted around, calculating, assessing the threat that he represented, a figure from her past who had stormed back into her life just when she needed help the most. That moment, the clamor of the city outside faded. Here, in this dimly lit room, filled with the heavy scent of stale coffee and the glow of dying screens, the world of Mega City felt miles away. Lila had not just disappeared. It had unearthed something monumental, something that could shake the very foundations of the corruption lurking in the shadows. They exchanged glances, Max's hardened features, worn by time and regret, and Lila's vibrant energy, a flickering beacon of hope. He had channeled her inquisitiveness into an investigation that had led her too close to danger, unraveling the tangled web that Captain Duncan Holt and his ilk were desperately trying to contain. The silence stretched. Lila finally voiced her story, the weight of her findings crashing over Max like an electric storm. He painted a grim picture of the layers of deceit that permeated every sector of Mega City. He spoke of meetings held in hushed corners, transactions that blurred the lines of legality, and names people tied to powerful figures, including those Max had once sworn to uphold. Clear that Lila was driven by a burning desire for justice, but Max could see the shadows of doubt creeping into her resolve. Gotten too close, and now her life was in jeopardy. The knowledge she possessed was potent, yet it made her a target in a city where truth was often silenced beneath a veil of neon lights and whispered threats. With each revelation, Max felt the familiar weight of guilt descend, memories of his own past flooding his thoughts. Too many times had he failed to protect those who sought truth. Time, he would not let history repeat itself. He would do everything within his power to ensure that Lila's voice could still be heard. Attention shifted in the room as Lila grabbed Max's arm, urgency oozing from her words. It needed him just as much as he needed her. Together, they could take a stand against the corruption that had overshadowed their lives for far too long. Act forged in desperation, but also in the understanding that they were two sides of the same coin. They prepared to leave the safe house. Lila disclosed the details of her next move. Axe's heart raced at the audacity of her intention. Confront Holt at his own game, to expose him under the glaring lights that he manipulated. Risky, but in the depths of peril, there lay the promise of redemption. Paired glance, an unspoken agreement passed between them. Axe would ensure Lila's safety, while she would keep the fire of truth burning bright. Together, they would rewrite their destinies against the backdrop of a city that thrived on secrets and lies. They stepped back into the neon haze of Mega City. The streets hummed with the pulse of opportunity and danger. Axe felt a renewed strength surging within him, a flicker of hope against the overwhelming darkness. Confront the very heart of the corruption, and as the neon lights flickered above them, he silently vowed that this time they would not stumble in the shadows. They were the hunters now, their pursuit of justice illuminated by the brilliance of truth. The aftermath of their tense confrontation, Max stood in the flickering shadows of Captain Duncan Holt's office, illuminated only by the neon glow seeping through the grimy windows. Were draped in steep silence, a stillness that reverberated with the weight of betrayal and power. Holt's face, usually so confident, now reflected the vulnerability of a man cornered, panicking behind his mask of authority. Holt may have held the reins of power in Mega City, but Max had something far more potent, a burning desire for justice. Lila's fate hung between them, the truth teetering precariously on the brink. Axe could feel it in the very air, thick with tension and desperation, as if the city itself held its breath in anticipation of what was to come. The captain attempted to dismiss Max's implication. Max's heart raced, recalling Lila's fierce determination in her pursuit of the truth. He envisioned her spirit blazing, unwavering in the face of corruption, and it filled him with the strength to press on. Beneath the facade of the white-collar criminal stood a man losing his grip, the sweaty sheen on Holt's brow betraying his composure. Axe advanced, lowering his voice to a near whisper, for this was a chess game where every move could spell doom. He spoke of the evidence Lila had gathered, the threads she had begun to weave around Holt's illicit activities, tangible proof, capable of unraveling the carefully constructed empire of deceit. There was no denying the life Lila had breathed into this case, a truth that could shatter the facade of safety that this city clung to so desperately. Holt's eyes darkened, flickering with a ferocity that sent a shiver down Max's spine. Axe knew then that he was not just confronting corruption. He was challenging a system willing to do anything to maintain its grip. Holt had everything to protect, including his very life, and Max could see it in the captain's narrowing gaze. Dangerous game was unfolding before him. The stakes extended beyond simply uncovering Lila's fate. Having dived into this murky underworld, Max was now embroiled in everything that had haunted him since his days as a cop, the things he had stood against, yet had failed to change. He recognized the need for a decisive blow, a strategic maneuver that would not only gather the evidence Lila had left behind, but also sever Holt's reach over the city. Remnants of his confidence, Max stated that he would see to it that Holt's empire would be dismantled. There would be no more hiding in the shadows where men like Holt could abuse their power unchecked. Fueled by Lila's bravery and the hope of salvation, Max refused to back down. His voice took on a resolute tone, tinged with a hint of defiance. Holt's empire would crumble. The depths of his mind, he processed his next move, gather every last scrap of information, rally anyone willing to stand against Holt's tyranny, and emerge from the ruins of his past as a restored force for justice. Lunging into the monochromatic web of power and political violence, Max would bring the fight into the light. The doors of Holt's office closed behind him. The neon lights of Mega City transitioned into a spectrum of grays and blacks, a fleeting reflection of his tumultuous thoughts. A whir of the city was incessant, blending the sounds of hopelessness with whispers of resilience. Without Lila, however, a piece of him felt lost, but he would carry her truth within him, a beacon guiding him through the relentless darkness. Every step, Max felt a surge of determination. He would seek out those loyal to Lila's cause, and there were many within the depths of the city's forgotten heart. He envisioned Bite, perhaps needing to coax the information from him, and maybe even reaching out to Sarah Graves once more, to unite their efforts against Holt's looming threat. With silent resolve, Max soon melded into the bustling streets beyond the captain's stronghold, the hunt replacing the chaos with purpose. A weight of his past whispered doubts, but through the pulse of the city, he felt Lila echoing beside him. He disappeared into the vibrant swirl of neon colors. A battle had taken root, the battle for truth, redemption, and ultimately for Lila herself. A hunt was on. Omar lurking in the shadows, waiting for the next misstep. This time, the light he sought would shine through. His heart, he carried the hope that perhaps, just perhaps, this chaotic transmutation of self would lead him to the elusive justice he had long sought. Max Steele leaned against the worn brick wall of the alley, the neon lights buzzing overhead, reflecting a world vibrant yet perilous. A night, the stakes were at their highest. He and Lila were on the brink of confronting Captain Duncan Holt, the embodiment of corruption that had long plagued Mega City, a powerful force determined to maintain his grip on the city's underbelly. Lila spoke with a fierce intensity, her eyes glistening with determination. Evidence she had uncovered was significant, secrets that could decode the complex tapestry of deceit woven throughout the city. Knowledge came a weight of risks, kind of risks that could erase them from existence if ever the wrong ears caught wind of their plan. Determined, Max locked eyes with Lila. They advanced through the shimmering streets. He felt the familiar cloak of anxiety settle over him, a stark reminder of his past failures. This time, though, he wouldn't let Lila down. Than just a case, she had become his ally, a kindred spirit ignited by a shared purpose. A neon haze enveloped them as they moved cautiously towards Holt's lair, a high-rise building whose grandeur belied the darkness that lurked within its walls. Hummed with anticipation, every step echoing with the fragility of their mission. They had to tread carefully, every decision critical to their survival and the possibility of unearthing the truth. They entered the lobby. The atmosphere shifted. Axe felt the tension weaving through the pristine space, shimmering glass and polished steel standing in stark contrast to the chaos outside. Security personnel patrolled with watchful eyes, their presence a constant reminder of the power Holt wielded. Axe whispered plans to Lila, brushing against her arm, sharing the subtle urgency that thrummed between them. They took the elevator to the penthouse floor, a route that felt like an ascent to perdition. The walls around them glimmered ominously, the fluorescent lights casting eerie shadows on their faces. Axe stole quick glances at Lila, her resolve powerful despite the weight of uncertainty. For more than just herself, she carried the hopes of the silenced, the whispers begging to be heard. The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime, unveiling Holt's domain. Ambience morphed, thick with the scent of leather and danger, a stark reminder that this was territory ruled by a wolf in sheep's clothing. They had seconds to decide their next move, each moment stretching into an eternity. Lila regained a semblance of control, her voice steady. Believed that confronting Holt would be the culmination of her investigation, but now she understood the layers of deception that lay ahead. Together, they carefully plotted their entrance, planning to expose him during a gala that promised to showcase the city's elite. They moved through the opulent space. Revelry filled the air, laughter mingling with the clink of glasses. Axe spotted Holt across the room, his presence commanding, laughter booming as if he were untouchable. A rush of anger coursed through Max, ignited by memories of their past encounters that ended chaotically, filled with consequences long forgotten. Axe positioned himself behind a column, a ghost amongst the bright suits and shimmering dresses. Lila clutched at her tablet, her fingers dancing over the screen as she prepared to gather evidence live. He would expose Holt for the fraud that he was, live in front of an audience that would not only witness the facade but be compelled to act. The moment drew closer, tension hung thick in the air. Lila exchanged glances with Max that spoke volumes: trust, fear, and an unwavering focus. They were about to ignite a spark in this very heart of darkness, hoping it would blaze into a fire of reckoning. A voice sliced through the excitement, directing attention to Holt. A moment had arrived. Lila initiated her plan, streaming live to an underground network that had followed her investigation. Each moment felt like walking a tightrope, a leap towards the abyss, yet the thrill of possibility surged through them both. Holt faced the crowd, unaware of the storm brewing just beyond the bright facade. Lila's voice broke through the din, revealing the intricate ties Holt had with crime syndicates and corruption. Goons at Holt's side exchanged glances, suspicion creeping into their features as the audience began to murmur. Axe could feel the tension shift. The moment balanced on a knife's edge as Holt's demeanor transformed into one of cold fury. Gala, once filled with laughter, now thrummed with an electric anticipation as secrets began to unfurl, threatening to consume Holt and those who stood by him. That instant, Max and Lila had nudged open a door that had long been sealed shut. The truth hung in the balance, each revelation a weighty thread in a tapestry that was about to unravel. They stood shoulder to shoulder, ready to face the storm together, the pulse of Mega City resonating around them, a city ripe for change. The shadows, amidst the flickering lights, a reckoning was brewing. For Max and Lila, the quest for justice had shifted from desperate longing to a fierce reality, as they took their stand against the darkness that had held the city captive for far too long. Max Steele found himself standing at the center of an emotional storm, the impact of his recent confrontation with Captain Duncan, Holt resonating in the very fabric of Mega City. Shadows mingled with flickers of neon lights as he navigated the winding streets, his thoughts spiraling around Lila Chen, her strength and resilience, even when the weight of the city threatened to crush her spirit. This time, he would not allow the darkness to swallow her. He took a deep breath, filling his lungs with the electrically charged air that hung thick with the scent of rain-soaked asphalt and the faintest hint of danger. Each step felt heavy with purpose as he recalled their pact made in the safe house, a commitment not just to uncover the truth, but to shake the very foundations of the corrupt system that had ensnared them both. He had been given a second chance, and this time he wouldn't hesitate. The neon lights painted his path, blaring reminders of the lives intertwined beneath their glow. With thoughts racing, Max resolved to gather allies and forge paths untraveled. He had seen enough pain wrought by power and deceit. It was time for the city to bear witness to the truth. First, he needed to find Bite. Tech dealer's connections could unearth the remaining pieces of Lila's investigation, her findings critical now that Holt was on high alert. Entering the bustling tech market was like stepping into another world, where the pulse of trade thrived amidst whispers of danger. Enders hawked everything from illicit software to the latest cybernetic enhancements, their voices a chorus of desperation and ambition. Axe pushed through the throng, his resolve steadfast. He needed Bite's insights, the kind that could shatter Holt's illusion of control. How did Bite? The tech dealer was hard at work, a holographic projection shimmering above him, illuminating his quick fingers as they danced over the interface. Axe approached, and the dealer's keen gaze lifted, a mixture of curiosity and caution in his expression. Axe didn't waste time with pleasantries. He delved directly into the urgency of Lila's situation, explaining the depth of corruption they were up against and the stakes of their quest for justice. Ite listened intently, his expression shifting as Max recounted the connections between Holt, the syndicates, and the dangerous web surrounding Lila's investigation. A thrill of information in this city was potent, but so was the risk of exposing oneself to harm. Ite finally nodded, a slow smile spreading across his face as he contemplated the information. Anyone had the means to uncover the buried evidence that could topple Holt, it would be him. First, there was a test, a reminder of the game they both played. If sensing Max's thoughts, Bite leaned back and revealed part of what he knew, sliding a device across the table, a small, glimmering chip capable of unlocking hidden encrypted files. The tech dealer's reputation for connections had always been true, and now, Max had to make a choice, a calculated risk to align with Bite's dubious methods or forge ahead alone. The field of trust had always been thin between them. Max understood that in the tangled dance of survival. Sometimes you had to embrace the uncertainty just as Lila had. He took the chip, knowing that within it lay the key to shifting the odds in their favor. Anking Bite, Max made his way out of the market, the weight of his decision resting on his shoulders. He had acquired another piece to the puzzle, but as he navigated the city streets, the dangers were far from over. inquiries had likely already spread, and lurking threats followed in the shadows, ready to pounce at any moment. Next, Max needed to reach out to Detective Sarah Graves. He held vital information regarding Holt's operations, and her willingness to help could tip the balance in their favor. The urgency of their mission beckoned him onward, and as each step propelled him through the city, he felt the mounting pressure of looming dangers. Finding Sarah was easier than expected, as she was stationed at a precinct not far from the market. He approached the building, noting the mix of rain and dark clouds swirling above nature itself, reflecting the turbulence brewing within. Making his way inside, he felt the sting of familiarity. This was once where he had thrived, now merely a place filled with memories of lost potential. He spotted Sarah hunched over a desk, her expression weary but resolved. Upon seeing him, her eyes widened briefly with surprise, and Max saw the enactment of a silent struggle playing out within her. Between the duties of her badge and the echoes of their past, both shimmering with unresolved tension. Without reservation, he laid the situation bare. Each revelation about Lila, Holt, and the quiet chaos that had dictated their lives poured from him, the sting of betrayal hovering in the air. He urged Sarah to trust him, to harness her resources, and together, they could dismantle the grip Holt had secured over the precinct and the city. Max spoke. Sarah's demeanor shifted from disbelief to contemplation. Her role as a detective often placed her at odds with Max's past, but at the crux was a shared desire for justice that fired in both their hearts. He recognized it then, a flash of determination igniting as she adjusted her stance, understanding that blind loyalty to a corrupt establishment no longer served her. There, within the precinct cloaked in flickering fluorescent lights, plans began to take shape. They mapped out their next moves, the threads of information intertwining like the very fiber of the city. Together, they aimed to unearth Holt's operation and gather the evidence that would expose him once and for all. Ahead was fraught with peril, a treacherous game of spy versus counter-spy, of truth against the pervasive darkness. But Max felt the thrill of hope swelling within him. He urged to unite forces against their common enemy, growing stronger with every pulse of determination that surged through him. They prepared for the confrontation ahead. Max's thoughts turned to Lila once more, counting on him, a string of hope tethering them both. He would not fail her again. With their minds aligned, they stepped into the chaos of Mega City once more, flickering neon lights illuminating the path forward, a path that would lead them closer to justice and ultimately freedom. Max Steele stood alert in the neon underbelly of Mega City, resistance sparking between him and the palpable danger lurking nearby. The air was thick with tension, a constant reminder that his inquiries into Captain Duncan Holt's dealings had not gone unnoticed. The discontent slid through the shadows, and eerily, he could sense eyes watching him, measuring his every move. Lila Chen, his partner in this untangling web of deception, was an unyielding presence beside him. A strength in her voice had ignited a fire within him, compelling Max to take risks he'd spent years avoiding. Tonight, they were ready to confront Holt, to expose him in a daring act of defiance that was as much about survival as it was about justice. They navigated the glowing streets. Lila's determination shone brighter than the signs overhead. Her fingers danced across her tablet, poised to share their findings with the world, the latest evidence of Holt's corruption, forged from her relentless pursuit of the truth. Each piece was a stepping stone toward eradicating the darkness that shrouded the city they both called home. Reaching Holt's high-rise, the duo felt the pulse of anticipation quicken. The building's grandeur loomed over them, a facade masking the rot within. Max could taste the impending confrontation, could almost hear the city's heartbeat syncing with theirs, a rhythm of anxiety and resolve. They were aware of the risks, yet the sense of purpose propelled them forward. Inside, the lobby was a labyrinth of polished marble and glimmering glass, an oasis of artificial comfort that felt suffocating against their urgency. Security personnel, shadows of authority, roamed like sentinels, enforcing Holt's rule with stern faces. But Max and Lila pushed through, determined to deliver their message, to to incite a ripple of change that echoed far beyond their immediate surrounding. Axe found comfort in Lila's steadfast presence as they ascended the elevator to the penthouse. More than a companion, she was a beacon, reminding him that together they could challenge the status quo. The doors slid open, revealing Holt's domain, where debauchery and greed flourished. Hidden among the crowd at Holt's gala was a sea of affluent faces, entirely unaware of the reckoning about to unfold. It was a stark contrast: the laughter, the clinking of glasses, and the intoxicating smell of power veiled the sinister undercurrents coursing through the room. Lila took a deep breath, her determination palpable as they moved to the fringes of the gathering. Focused intently on her tablet, streams of data cascading before her as if they were threads, waiting to be woven into a story that would shatter Holt's delusion of invulnerability. Axe felt a protective instinct rise within him. He would shield Lila from any fallout, ensuring her voice was heard. Holt made his entrance, commanding attention with his presence. The atmosphere shifted yet again. The room stuttered, suspicion creeping in like fog seeping through the cracks. Lila's eyes locked onto Max's, their shared mission resonating between them. And Lila's voice rose above the clamor, cutting through the revelry with laser-like clarity. The labyrinth of lies Holt had constructed, and the connections that tied him to the very criminals they both loathed. With each word, the atmosphere hummed with tension, secrets slithering into the open. Axe could see it in Holt's face, a mask of surprise quickly swallowed by indignation. The crowd's murmurs began to swell, a cacophony of alarm echoing through the opulent space. Those around them began to shift, the betrayal dawning upon them like an unexpected sun, illuminating the truth they had willingly overlooked. The stakes rose as Holt glared at Lila, his fury palpable, yet Max sensed something deeper: fear. They were onto something monumental, a truth that could disrupt the very foundations of the city's underbelly. Axe felt his heart race as the tension coiled tighter, the fates of both him and Lila hanging in the balance. With urgency surging through him, Max moved closer to Lila, ready to act as a shield against any retaliation. Holt's power might loom large, but he knew that with Lila's relentless pursuit of the truth beside him, they had a fighting chance. Darkness may have ruled Mega City for years, but tonight was a different story. Tonight, light was breaking through the shadows. They prepared for the fray. Adrenaline coursed through Max's veins. This was no longer just an investigation. It was a battle for justice, each revelation tearing down the barriers that had kept the truth hidden for so long. Together, they would not only confront Holt, but also challenge the silence that had enveloped the city. That critical moment, as the reality of their choices descended, they stood united, ready to face whatever storm awaited them. The pulse of Mega City was alive around them, each heartbeat a call to arms against the corruption that had burdened them for too long. Together, Max and Lila would ignite a revolution, and in doing so, they would rediscover a piece of themselves that had long been lost amid the darkness.